Welcome back to a numbers game with Ryan Gradusky. Thank you all for being here again. Thank you for everyone who has subscribed to my YouTube channel. It means so much to me. I've been trying to put work in to make sure that there's new graphs and interesting data up there and uploading all my old interviews. So check out on me on a numbers game with Ryan Gradusky on YouTube, and please like and press the subscribe button so you never miss a single episode. Anyway, before I get to today's episode, I need to tell my listeners something, because you guys who listen to this podcast a lot know that I am not a sports guy. I don't watch sports very often. So last night I went to a bar just to have some food and a drink and, kind of crystal out the weekend. And a channel called ESPN News was on. Now, I thought that was just ESPN. So I'm looking around. They have something called Pop-A-Shot Men's Championship, which is that game at Dave and Buster's that you play standing up by yourself, throwing a basketball into a hoop. And like the craziest thing was they had sponsors. People are making money off of this. And I guess there's a prize if you're in the championship. It's a game at Dave and Buster's. Then I'm finishing dinner. I look up again. They have Championship Men's Pillow Fight League. I need to make a new career for myself. I made all the wrong choices in my life. If you could make money doing pillow fighting against other men for 3 minutes, if these people make six figures, I am going to scream into into a bag somewhere, because this is nuts. I was interested. Then I was wanting to give up on humanity that people were watching us. And then I was making questions of my own career choices in life, because I can't imagine the fact that they make more than I do when I work 7 days a week and they have pillow fights for 9 minutes. I'm not joking. It's going to be a dark moment in the life of Ryan Gradusky. I'll tell you that. Anyway, okay. So sorry to go into the pillow fight thing. I want to sit there and talk a little bit more breakdown on the data from last week's elections about the Democrats' victory. I wrote an article in the American Conservative magazine, and I got a little backlash or commentary on social media, but I want to really push what I think. I still think New Jersey is a swing state in the making. I know that seems like, no, Ryan, we should have a blowout loss or a blowout win if you're a Democrat. Here's why. And I'm going to put a big emphasis on voter registration. Now, do you remember what happened after the 2016 election? Remember all the women wearing pink hats and the constant comments that the wall was closing in and Trump needed the 25th Amendment and he was losing his mind and he was impeached twice? That time in America, there was a huge surge of support for Democrats, especially in New Jersey. From 2016 to 2020, New Jersey registered 450,000 new Democrats compared to only 233,000 new Republicans, right? So big advantage. Democrat registration voter advantage grew from 862,000, 1,079,000 in just 4 years. Trump being president was great for Democrats during that time. In the 4 years that followed 2020, Democrats added only 10,778 new voters, while Republicans added 184,000. Now, we're almost done with year one, the first full year of Trump's presidency in the second term. And that energy that you would expect to go back towards Democrats that was there the first term hasn't metastasized. In this year, Republicans added 44,000 new voters in New Jersey, while Democrats lost 9,000. Democrat voter advantage in New Jersey today is smaller than it was before Trump took the White House in 2016, right? So all that momentum that Democrats have built during that first Trump term is completely gone. That huge advantage that they were going to have to make the state even bluer and bluer and bluer. A big part of the win from last Tuesday was because Democrats still have that voter advantage, right? They ginned up their base. Voter participation was well over 50% among everybody. And that's a 10-point increase from 2021. But among Democrats, it's substantially higher, right? Republicans did do a decent job at turning out their own base, but Democrats not only matched them, but they exceeded them. And remember, even though it's trending in Republican direction, there's just still 850 voters to contend with. We're not there yet, but I think we're getting there. And a lot has been made over the conversation of Latinos, right? Latinos that showed up for Trump. Trump swung Latinos in his direction, northern New Jersey, and then they swung back, meaning the whole Trump Latino thing is over, and they're going to be just basic Democrats again. I broke down the numbers on this, and this is why I also disagree. I don't think that this is actual accurate portrayal of what's really happening. First, When you look at the governor's elections, the last three, 2017, 2021, and 2025, Republicans have seen their level of support in Latino majority towns increase at a faster rate than Democrats, right? Some Latino towns, not all of them, but like Passaic County, New Jersey, which is one of the bigger Latino majority towns, more new Republicans, people voted Republicans than new people voted for Democrats. Republicans are increasing in the raw turnout, even when you consider that in 2017 and in 2025, it was Democratic landslides where the Democratic candidate basically got the same percentage of the vote. In Passaic, in North Bergen, and East New York, Republicans' raw vote is increasing at a faster rate than even Democrats. And when you compare how Republicans perform in all those Hispanic places in 2017 compared to Democrats, when you say they're both won by 14 points, look at how they did as a whole, it's about 5 to 6 points better in Latino majority towns in northern New Jersey from 2017 to 2025. So the state numbers, overall numbers are the same. Latino towns are moving to the right. The media is running around sitting there and saying, oh, this is all part of a backlash over Trump's immigration policy, right? It's immigration, immigration, immigration. Latinos are angry. Their abuelas being, deported or whatever they're saying. And that might be part of it, right? I'm willing to concede that there's probably a lot of Latinos who are angry over immigration, but it's just one little piece of the data because I want to look at Chitterelli's performance not only among Latinos, but among working class whites from 2021, right? There are 4 towns I looked at called South Amboy, South River Borough, Manville Borough, and Kyport Borough. They are white working class towns. When you compare how Chitterelli did in 2025 versus how he did in 2021, Chitterelli went down anywhere between 15 points in the case of Kyport Borough to 30 points in the case of Manville Borough, right? Chitterelli lost so much support among white working class voters. Now look at the Latino areas. Perth Amboy, West New York, Passaic, Gutenberg, North Bergen, Prospect Park. They were mixed, right? In places like Perth Amboy, Chitterelli lost about 7 points support. In Prospect Park, he lost about 14 points support. In Passaic, in Gutenberg, in North Bergen, he gained from where he was in 2017. He didn't lose. So it makes you sit there and say, why are Hispanics and white working class people, why are they coming at a crossroads, right? Where they're voting more similarly, even though obviously whites without a college degree are voting much more to the right. But when one is swinging, the other one's swinging as well, right? In the same direction. What is happening? I don't believe the primary motivating fact was immigration. I think it was the economy. And I have a little bit more evidence to sit there and say this. The pollster Unidos, which is a Latino pollster, the media loves to cite them, loves talking about them. They're not a very accurate pollster. They're never held accountable for that, but I'm going to cite them because it's all we have, but take it with a grain of salt. But they're a Democrat-leaning pollster, and they still said when they asked Latinos what are the top 5 issues going to this election, they said affordability and the cost of living, healthcare, jobs in the economy, housing, and then gun violence. It wasn't immigration. Immigration did not make the top 5 among any of these Latino voters being polled in all these big important swing states. Right now is a weak economy, right? Working class people are feeling it. They're maxing out their credit cards. It is tough. Prices did not go down after Biden's inflation. Inflation went down, but prices didn't. And people are still feeling it, 4 years later, 3 years later since COVID. That's just a reality. That's just a function of how it's going. And they wanted Trump to have like a magic wand or a Band-Aid, and he couldn't, right? So now they're angry at the Republicans. They're angry at the Trump administration. They'll be angry at the next Democrat, the next Republican, whatever, if this continues. Something has to happen. But that anxiety among working class people, both Latino and white, and the overall increase in activist Democrats, people who go to the No Kings rally, who show up at those kinds of things to go vote at a higher rate than the average Republican, is what punished Republicans because they were out to punish Trump. The fundamentals of New Jersey, as I see it, as I believe it says, it's going to still be a swing state, though. I really do believe that. New voters are picking the GOP over the Democrats, and it's completely organic. There's no huge, Republican Party actively registering people. This has been a trend on their own. They know the Democratic Party isn't working for working class people, even if they were angry in the moment they voted. Republican growth, even in Latino neighborhoods, is up from 2021, and it's way up from 2017. We will see if things change in 2026. But as of now, the trend lines in New Jersey, to me, seem very, very straightforward. Now, there's a lot of conversations happening online about a generational divide, a generational splinter among Republicans. I know it's that was a harsh transition. Enough about New Jersey. I believe it's the swing state in the future. Let me bring up what I want to talk about for the rest of this episode, which is this generational divide. Online, there's a lot of conversation that younger Gen Z Republicans are they're tougher than their parents on certain positions, and that they are especially more nationalist, right? They are less supportive of unrestricted free trade. They are less supportive of immigration. They want more immigration restrictions. They are just more like Donald Trump and the party that he built. My guest on today's episode has been making a lot of attention when it comes to, breaking off from, I guess, the political establishment of yesteryear, or the political thought of his parents' generation, and that is Nalin Haley, the son of former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. He is so interesting. He has got a wild take on many, many things, and he will be up next. Nalin Haley became a public figure during his mom, Nikki Haley's run for the White House, and he's been stepping out on his own and getting a lot of attention because he's, quote unquote, a radical. Nalin, thank you for being on this podcast. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
So, Nalin, I want to ask you first a couple of basic questions. Do you remember a time in your life before, like, your mom was a politician?
Yeah, I remember it pretty well. I think things started to change was when she won and I was in third grade. But before that, it was just a very simple life. My mom was an accountant. My dad was in the military, and we lived the very typical suburban family life.
Yeah.
And then once she won, my life changed and was never the same.
In a good way or a bad way?
And I mean, in some ways, it's both. I like to think of it as more optimistic than negative. I mean, there's definitely some elements, such as my life being so public. I would prefer it to be more private, but in a lot of ways, I got to experience a lot of cool things, meet a lot of cool people, see a lot of the state. So
Yeah.
I value a lot of that as well.
I think people like to imagine, for those who don't have like a politician parent, like to imagine like they come home at the dinner table and they're like, "You'll never believe what the budget was like today," and like like
Not at all. Not
it
at all.
wasn't like that at all.
And it's like we don't talk about politics at all. Like it's very the reason why people think that is because they only know Nikki Haley. They don't know my mom. And those two things, they're the same person, but to me it's mom. To everyone else it's Nikki Haley, so they can't rationalize her being just a mom. And so whether it's with my family or even my friends, like my friends know nothing about politics, and that's not on accident because that's why they're my friends. I don't want friends
Yeah.
that know everything about politics.
My friends don't even
It's
know what
not
I
my
do for a
life.
living. No, I know. I mean, I
Yeah.
work in it. I don't know what I do. When did you know like your mom was famous? The last question your mom just want to know, like, when did you realize like your mom was famous? I ask people this question a lot.
Yeah. I think when she was running, it was the primary and started to pick up where she was doing well. You started to see her signs everywhere. People started to stop her at the grocery store. I think that was when I noticed that something was different.
Yeah.
Was about probably second, third grade.
Well, I talked to my buddy Megan McCain ahead of this interview because obviously her dad, John McCain, and I was just like, what was it like, talking to her about her? And she's like, my dad always said to me, be yourself. Like, don't worry. I'm not going to make you believe what I believe. I imagine with your mom, it was a lot of the same things.
Yeah, I mean, again, we never really talked about politics, so and they always encouraged me to think for myself and that's the thing is like a lot of people can't seem to understand. It's like, well, I can't believe you have different views than your mom. Well, it's like, do you have the same views as your mom? And they'll say no. So I just tell them, why would I be any different? I'm from a
Right.
different generation. We have different problems, so therefore I have different solutions.
Well, I want to talk to your generation because you people pay a lot of attention to you, obviously, because of familial reasons, but you have interesting takes, which is why they stay paying attention to you. I think you talk a lot about your own life experiences, that of friends of yours, struggling to find a job, struggling to be able to get a house one day, even for yourself. What about today for Gen Z is especially hard that has changed a lot of their politics?
I definitely think it's a mixture of economic and cultural changes.
Mhm.
I think we've seen it in just such a short period of time. The economy mainly is causing a lot of frustration. When people don't work, when people aren't getting paid, they get frustrated. And they're right to be frustrated because they're not doing anything wrong. It'd be one thing if they were lazy, not getting their education, not willing to put in the work. But Gen Z, in some ways, has a problem with work ethic, but mostly when they want to work, they will and they're good at it. So
Yeah.
when they have the opportunity to try and make something of themselves and they're not even getting a chance to start, that's when they get angry and they've every right to be.
Do you feel like your generation, well, you and your generation, I guess, is not a spokesperson, but someone dealing with it, that they have like sort of animus towards baby boomers? Like you feel like they screwed
Yeah,
things
I
up.
absolutely do. I absolutely
Right.
do because they inherited everything. They inherited something that was great and they turned it into something that was terrible for us. I mean, you think about what a lot of boomers had, a lot of them were able to afford a home, afford 2 cars, send their kids to school off of just one salary. Back then, the mom didn't even work. They were able to have all those things, and it was the golden age for them. Everything was affordable. A lot of people had jobs. I'm not saying it was like that for everyone, but by and large, it was very simple, easy, and it worked. And now we have things where people don't have jobs, crime is out of control, things don't work, and so people are frustrated that something that was inherited to that generation is now being turned upside down because of those boomer policies.
What would you say if somebody pushed back and said, well, boomers had to, a lot of, depending how old they are, they had to serve in Vietnam or be drafted, that they had less opportunity, less, technology and availability towards luxury items than you do, that they're cheaper now. What would you say to something like that?
I mean, I would say that it's good that they served in wars. I think that's great. But I mean, it doesn't change the fact that they have bad policies. And there are a lot of the reasons why we have economic struggles, why we have too much immigration. A lot of the problems that we see are boomers just not doing what they were supposed to do. They had what they had, they changed it, and our generation's feeling it now.
When I want to talk about immigration because you talk about that a lot. It's something I've talked about a lot. It was definitely a red pilling issue for me. What do you say to people who sit there and say, and I've seen people say this to you on Twitter, so that's why I'm asking, but people who sat there and said to you, Nalin, your grandparents are Indian immigrants. How could you be against immigration?
Yeah, that's stupid. It's stupid because one, it's not 1969.
Right.
Everyone can look around and see that it's a very different country, that we
Mhm.
have a very different set of circumstances. It is rational to then adapt and change those policies. It's also stupid because I'm not loyal to, my grandparents' way of thinking or what they did, just like you aren't, just like they aren't. If a lot of us believed in the same things our grandparents did, then we would have a different country. But no one believes in what their grandparents do or think. Very few do. So why would I then accept that when they had a different upbringing, a different way of life than I do? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So what you're saying is you can respect your grandparents were people, but we can't have a first century economy with a 20th century immigration system. Because that's when our immigration was created. It was created over a half a century ago. It's not for a high tech, high skilled population.
Right. It's not sustainable and it's irresponsible to have it right now, even the legal immigration. And it's
Mhm.
because we have an economy that's fragile. We have AI taking a lot of jobs and we have companies not hiring. So why would we import more workers when we already have that struggle?
And I think that what people are realizing it now, I feel like more than ever, but they didn't before the New York City election. They're like, oh, some people we import really do support socialism and we are importing the third world. And I mean, I would go back to 2016's primary where Ted Cruz literally said, good immigration, legal immigration, good, illegal immigration, bad. He was the me.
Right. And it's more so like they're just, oh, they're supporting socialism and leftist policies. They're not even identifying as American, a lot of them. And I
Mhm.
think we started to see around the Obama years was when we started to see immigrants come in and they said, you don't need to change anything. You're good the way you are. You don't have to assimilate. You don't have to do this or that. But what it does is it loses our very identity as what we are as America. If the people coming in don't see themselves as American, we're essentially just a globalist entity, not even a country, not with a specific identity, a culture, or anything, a language, religion. We're just a globalist entity, and that's not what I want to be, and I never want it to become that.
Yeah, it's like a
And
tower
that's why I want to
balance.
stop immigration, both illegal and legal. It's
Yeah.
irresponsible.
Yeah, talk to me about the because this is something I kinda don't even understand. I'm, like, 15 years older than you. Like, what is it with women in Gen Z? Why are they so far left?
I think I would say I would be hesitant to say that they're like that. I know a majority are, but I wouldn't say it's as much as people think.
Mhm,
I think a lot of it has to do with the internet. The internet shapes the way a lot of Gen Z thinks. And if you have a For You page or on TikTok or Instagram, all you have to do is put your gender in there. If you put no other information and just your gender, the algorithm will then feed you complete opposite stuff.
mm,
And this is what a lot of these companies do, what a lot of foreign governments do is they want to create a divide. And so I have been saying for years the future of divide and division in America likely isn't going to be race or income or a lot of stuff. It's going to be gender, which is
mhm,
specifically a problem because we need each other. We need women and women need men. It's just the
yeah.
truth.
Yeah, as someone who's a millennial, I feel like one of the biggest lies that was told to women of my generation, and I have a lot of friends in their late 30s right now, was like, you have all the time in the world to have kids, all the time in the world to start a family. And I know women in their late 30s who are like scrambling to find a husband. They are like, this is my last chance. I need to get a baby immediately. And it's hard to sit there and see these people like this. So I really hope that women in your generation don't kind of fall for the same thing. I mean, there is biology is real and time is real and there's no other way about it. What about young men in your generation? Are they because there's like there seems to be, the Harry Simpsons of the world, and then there's the
Who's
I guess
not real, by the way. He's
what
not a
you
real
mean?
person. Views aren't real. Completely paid. Not real.
Yeah. Because he does get consulting fees and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's all
Well, what was your political evolution? Was there a book or experience that you had that made you like sit there and say like, "Oh, I believe in these things this way"?
I would say I feel like I was very typical MAGA Republican for a lot of high school, but I would say it wasn't until late junior year where I feel like I started to think outside of that, particularly with immigration, particularly with maybe some of our relations with other governments and foreign policy being, not so interventionist. I think I would say that was late junior year of high school.
Was it like YouTube videos or was it
No,
like
it wasn't anything that happened. I think I just started to research it more. I started to think more. I started to not just accept what I was given on the internet and by, Con Inc. I wanted to think for myself.
Okay, if someone if a parent was to say, "Hey, Neil, and I have a 15-year-old, what should I point them to that made you like this?" What would it be?
I don't know where they should go because I just hate all media. I really
Okay.
do. The they're the worst people in the world. The biggest enemy to the American people, it's not Iran, it's not China, it's not Russia, it's not even the Democrats, it's the media. They're the worst. They're vultures, they're blood-sucking leeches. All they do is just cause division and chaos in America. They do that because that's how they get money and ratings. They have no loyalty to a country, to an ideology, to a people, only their money and their ratings, which come from chaos and division. They don't care about telling the truth. They want to make the story, not tell it. So I don't know where to go because I hate all of them.
Okay. Well, it's not as helpful as I thought it would be. The last
Well, now
question.
you know the media sucks and everyone knows that.
Well, I've worked in the media. I worked with Bill Kristol with the Washington Examiner. That was in 2016. That was a rough experience. Last question. If you were to get Vice President Vance or President Trump in a room and say, like, these are the three things or the two things that you need to focus on for my generations heading to the midterms, and they're like, this is what we need. What would it be that you guys need?
I would say in terms of what they need to do, I would say end H-1B visas,
Mhm.
stop legal immigration, try to curb AI and technology from taking a lot of jobs, which is not just my generation, that's everyone. And I would say not be so interventionist in a lot of foreign governments, but I think Trump does a good job because he's very pragmatic on foreign policy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's more of an advice for Vance to more adopt Trump's foreign policy. But I would say those are some big things because the main issue is jobs, affordability, and safety.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
and
true.
immigration.
Yeah, and you mentioned safety. I'm gonna put this idea in your head. Think of like all the homes in like really bad crime-ridden neighborhoods that no one wants to live in. If they were available because the crime wasn't there, housing prices would be solved a lot. Nailen, where can people go to read more about what you put out? Because you put out the fiery spices, spiciest tweets on the internet, and like, I listen. I spend so much time like, oh god, what did Nailen say about this or that? And I mean, a lot of times I laugh out loud, but like, I'm always curious.
It's not meant to be funny. It's not meant to get attention. These are literally, I don't even think when I do it. It's just me being genuine, and it's just I react to what I see. But
Well, some people are
you,
genuinely funny. I mean, they don't have to try.
that's true.
That's what makes people like interesting. Yeah.
I would say they could find me on X. It's just Nalin_Haley. And then if you're local or you're in South Carolina and you want to get involved, I would say I'm starting a Young Republicans group for York, Lancaster, and Chester counties. It's going
That's
to be
northern South Carolina, right?
it's South Carolina. It's just south of Charlotte in that
That's right. Yeah,
region.
northern South Carolina. Yeah.
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 And so we're focused on advocating for Gen Z causes. We want to campaign and door knock and get on the ground for conservative candidates, and we want to increase turnout. Young Republicans are notorious for not doing anything. So I want to change that. I want to make it an actual active grassroots local movement.
Do you still door knock
Uh,
for people?
yeah, I mean, I try to if it's someone that I really want to
Did
support.
you
I
ever
was in Iowa and I door knocked to -50 degrees. I'll never do that again. But
did you ever door knock and someone answered the door like, oh my God, it's Nailen? Like, that's crazy.
no,
No, they
thankfully, and
haven't.
I prefer it that way.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for coming on this podcast. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Ryan.
Now it's time for Ask Me Anything. If you want to be part of the Ask Me Anything segment, email me Ryan at numbersgamepodcast.com. That's Ryan at numbersgamepodcast.com, plural numbers. I read them all. I get to them. I have a big stack. I'm going to have to do a whole Ask Me Anything day one day. But I love getting these questions and I answer them all either on the air or on private email, emailing you back. So this one comes from Frank. He writes, you mentioned that you listen to you listen to unhinged liberal podcasts. Can you recommend any particularly fun ones, or better yet, particularly funny individual episodes or clips? I remember long ago you recommended listening to a podcast episode from Mary Trump, and it was fantastic. Yes, Frank, thank you for listening to what I'm saying. That was the Mary L. Trump Election Day podcast. It was so deranged. It was so fun because it's like 7 hours long, so you have to kind of skip until like results start coming out. But in the beginning, they were like, we're gonna sweep, Florida and Texas, and it's all going blue. And then like the night goes on, they go, they're like, they're like, we don't need it. We don't need the state. We don't need that state. We're still good. The blue wall's still holding. The blue wall's still holding. And then it just goes. The whole map goes red and they just start losing their minds. They're like crying on air and they're like, at least we still have the house. Like, no, we don't have the house. And like, I mean, one literally bawled crying, like screamed out. Like it was like a guttural cry. It was so good. It was so, maybe I'm gonna watch that tonight instead of a movie. Just sit there and put that on. Election nights are great resources for unhinged liberals. Destiny had an unhinged episode on his YouTube where he was like, hopeful and optimistic. I think the king of it though is Alan Lichtman. I don't know if you know who he is. He's the guy who had like the 13 keys or the 16 keys. This man's an utter freaking moron. This man is dumber than a sack of bricks. And he really loves to tell everyone that he's a genius. And I'm not joking to you. If he was, if he had, I'm not going to say what I want to say. I was going to say something very crude. But if he had, never mind. I'm not going to say it. I'm not. Something that my father would always say, and my father has a mouth like a truck driver, and I keep the podcast clean. He is not a bright man, is my point. His Election Day podcast about why his 13 keys were so accurate and so smart, and you can't break away from the 13 keys. Oh, it's so good because he's delusional. Any other ones that are really, really good? I have to sit there and go back and watch what I'm watching. I watch a bunch of Rosie. It's always the women too, like middle-aged women who are like completely obsessed with politics are the ones who are like on the left who are the ones who are like completely out there. I watch every Rosie O'Donnell interview I can because like they're not all gems, but one, I grew up watching her show, so I kind of like her from as a kid, like enjoying her show. But two, because when she is unhinged, when she goes for a comment about Trump that is completely not true, like that Elon stole the election, it is just heaven. Like, it is heaven. So it's not a podcast because she doesn't say it all the time, but when she does, oh, it's gold. And then this is not a podcast, but if you want to like laugh sometimes, on MSNBC and CNN, they like to treat themselves very serious. They're very, very intelligent. They read. It's the sound of a newspaper flipping over. They're so smart. Morning Joe has 700 newspapers everywhere, and none of them are open, but he's got them constantly. They're great props. Rachel Maddow, and she did this a couple of times. Ann Coulter always tells me, like, Rachel Maddow is the biggest conspiracy theorist on television. She's bigger than Alex Jones, and she very much is a wild conspiracy theorist. In 2019, she said on air, because I remember watching this and I couldn't believe she said this. In 2019, she said that Russia was planning to hack America's energy grid to freeze the entire state of North Dakota to death. Yes, the whole state of North Dakota was going to die in 2019, according to Rachel Maddow. And I remember hearing and go, did she just say, is this a gag? She was completely serious. And she said it another time too. She repeated her conversation and said, they're going to hack the power grid and freeze everyone in North Dakota to death. And I still can't get over that. And she's never been fired or called out for, no comment ever. I think she was given a raise. But yeah, those kinds of things when liberals will say something that's utterly nutty, I find fascinating. There's that one woman who's going very popular on the blogs. She's got a lot of Botox. She can't move her face very well. I don't even know her name. She's like angry and screaming all the time. I don't enjoy her because I find her like to be extremely annoying. Kara Swisher's the same way. Like, Kara can have moments where I'm like, well, like, Kara has a show with like a liberal guy who's a teacher at Scott Galloway. He's a professor at NYU. And like sometimes when it's about tech, they'll have something very interesting to sit there and say, or about the markets, they'll have something very, very smart they'll take from me. And then when they talk about politics, they'll say something completely delusional. And their post and pre-election was fantastic. Fantastic. Because they have no shame in being wrong all the time. And they are very proud of it. They're very proud of their opinions, even if their opinions are jaw-droppingly incorrect. Scott Galloway was on a school board. He said this. He was on the school board and he voted to shut the school board down. He caused irreparable damage to young men and young women's lives by shutting down a school. He has no shame in it whatsoever. And he said, you guys should all just move on. No, I love watching them suffer. Like, I really do. And embarrass themselves. I really, really do. Because while, there's no harm in them being wrong on a podcast, he has actually harmed people in his lives. Not great when it comes to being accountable. Anyway, that's a long rant. Those are some good episodes. I like to watch them. Kathy Griffin also has like delusional things that she says a lot of her on her podcast on YouTube. She actually, one last thing, and I'm going to close the show. She actually was the first person. I've heard this rumor in DC circles. I never believed it, so I never repeated it. But there was always a rumor in DC circles that Elon Musk was having an affair with Stephen Miller's wife. Once again, I don't believe it. I never believed it. It was just a rumor that I constantly heard. These rumors were circulating around constantly, but other things. And you have to parse what seems like it's nonsense and what seems like it doesn't. She was the first person I ever heard who said this out loud on a podcast and was like, oh yeah, this is how this is what's going on. I was like, whoa. One, how did she hear that kind of gossip? And two, it's absolutely a lie. If she's saying it, it's a lie because she's never, she's also another crazy one like Rosie who's never accurate, but makes me laugh sometimes. Anyway, thank you for listening to this podcast. If you like this podcast, please like and subscribe. Give me a 5-star review if you like that on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe on YouTube. Really means a lot, and I will see you guys on Thursday.